This is the Jason Walker Show. Two-time National Sports Media Association Montana Sportscaster of the Year and three-time loser, the Jason Walker Show. The best local and statewide sports coverage, featuring the biggest guests from Montana.
Flint Rasmussen joining us here on the Jason Walker Show.
He's freaking exhausting, too. You used to dance a lot more. Yeah, I know, lady. I'm 51 years old now.
The NAI Hall of Famers, Mike Van Diest, joining us here, Jason Walker Show. And is it just a deal where quarterbacks have to be good golfers?
Well, that's all they have time for. They don't work out. They don't lift weights. They don't do anything else. They might as well go get on the golf course and at least have some fun.
And from across the country,
Doug Gottlieb, our guest here on the Jason Walker Show.
End of the day, remember, it's your show. It's got your name on it.
Howie Mandel, our guest here.
Jason Walker, deal or no deal?
the Jason Walker Show, presented by Helena Accommodations. The in-town 5-star extended stay residences. Visit HelenaAccommodations.com. Broadcasting from the Major Mortgage Man Cave, here's Jason Walker.
Happy Friday. Welcome into the Major Mortgage Man Cave, the Jason Walker Show, presented by Helena Accommodations, the in-town 5-star extended stay residences. Visit HelenaAccommodations.com. Big show coming up today. We're going to talk some college football. Also, on this day in history, tell you what's coming up this weekend. We got some wrestling tournaments. There's some great news out of the University of Providence women's wrestling as well. So we're going to talk about that in a bit. Nice couple of big honors for some coaches in the state of Montana, and one a milestone, one Hall of Fame. We'll chat about that as well. Just a whole lot coming up. Also, we're going to check in with Steve Keller, the head coach of the University of Providence. The Argos ranked 7th in the nation as they get ready to get back into conference play next week with games against Northern and Carroll. And so we'll talk to Coach Keller about those games coming up. Also, how he feels about the season as a whole, as the Argos unbeaten so far, and also 2-0 in the Frontier. So let's get going, shall we? Today is Friday, and it is the first Friday of 2020, and we hope you're having a good one so far. What are we, 3 days in? So there you go. Kind of an emotional day. Had to take my son was home. He's Bob. He's in the U.S. Army, and he was here for a couple of weeks for the holidays. Had to take him back to Bozeman to fly out this morning, and he is going to be he goes back to his base at Fort Riley, Kansas tonight. So that's we wish him the best, obviously, and all of our soldiers, especially with all the in all of military, given everything that's happened over the last 24 hours or so. Regardless how you feel, I don't care. My son's in the military, and I talk about him a lot, and I support him. Your opinion, good, bad, doesn't matter to me right now. But anyway, so hopefully we get to see him next holidays, as he is a crew chief on a Blackhawk unit down in Fort Riley, Kansas, with the U.S. Army. So anyway, Jason Walker Show here in the Major Mortgage Man Cave. And if you want to watch anytime, you can. Facebook.com/the Jason Walker Show. YouTube, just search the Jason Walker Show. Tweet us at JWalkerSports, at Jason Walker Show. TreasureStateRadio.com. If you don't have it yet, download on Google Play or the App Store. We appreciate Treasure State Radio and Emily and the gang for picking us up and getting us out there as well. We're also on Network One Sports, Jason Walker Show there, and you can email anytime, jasonwalkersports@gmail.com. You can also soon jasonwalkershow.com. The website it's close. I met with our designer on Tuesday. It's looking good, and just some tweaks that have to be made. Looking forward to getting that out to you as well. What else? I wanted to hit on something. Oh, by the way, you can watch this, like we said, on Facebook or YouTube. You can also watch the replay anytime on those two. We also put it up on the Twitter. But it's on like 19 different apps for you to hear the replay if you want. I mean, it's just everywhere. Just search the Jason Walker Show. It's fantastic. We appreciate all of our great sponsors so far, and new ones coming in the new year. Looking forward to that as well. So hope you stick with us. By the way, you can hashtag us too. It's right up on the top of the screen. Hashtag the Jason Walker Show, and let us know what you think of the show, how we're doing, and the things you would like to change. All right, so here in the Major Mortgage Man Cave. Jason Walker Show presented by Helen Accommodations, the in-town 5-star extended stay residences. All right, visit them at helenaccommodations.com. All right, so I saw this map put out the other day, and let me get to it because it's pretty darn good. I'll say that. So, there's some people responding to it already. All right, so bannersociety.com. Alex Kirshner is the guy's name. And he said, college football, he tweeted out, doesn't have a state championships. So he created one for every state. So he put together the Team of the Decade 50-state map. Ready for this? So obviously University of Hawaii. You've got Villanova for football, for Pennsylvania. This is for college, okay? Regardless of level or division. Like the Mary Hardin Baylor down at the University of Mary Hardin Baylor in Texas. They've won 2 Division III national championships. Nevada Wolfpack, Stanford football, Utah, Arizona State, Kansas State. You see where I'm going with this, all right? So North Dakota State, obviously. And Michigan State is in there. James Madison for their Clemson, obviously, Alabama, Florida State, LSU. And so you get the gist of where this is. Eastern Washington, Boise State for some of our neighbors. University of Wyoming, obviously. Nebraska. No, in fact, Nebraska probably shouldn't even be covered. South Dakota State. Morningside, which has won the last 2 NAI national championships for Iowa. And there you go. So just to name a few. He's got Linfield in Oregon, who we saw in Helena a couple years ago as Carroll College beat Linfield. Linfield, a Division III power that has not won a national championship in the past decade. He's got them over Southern Oregon. Now, Linfield, D3, and we all know like the 98-year win streak, whatever it is. I think it's 64. But Southern Oregon, a good friend of the show and good friend of ours, Barry Fouts, who writes for VictorySportsNetwork.com, brought up a good point. He goes, why don't you have Southern Oregon? Why does this Alex Kirshner, why doesn't he have Southern Oregon over to Linfield? Because Southern Oregon won a national championship, played in another, lost to Marion in 2015 after winning it all in 2014. So just things to think about. I don't know what his criteria was. It was just the map. So I got some numbers for you. So we want to know who is the best college football team of the last decade in the state of Montana. We threw out, obviously, you can throw out a bunch. Like Rocky had a couple of decent years, one good one. You got Northern, which wasn't good at all the last decade. You throw them out. Western, you throw out. And who else? Tech. Tech had, a couple of good seasons, but, they won a couple of Frontier Conference championships. But you got to throw them out. So it comes down to the major 3, Carroll, MSU, UM. Who has the best college football team of the past decade in the state of Montana? Okay, Carroll, the Cats, or the Grizz? I'm going to give you some numbers. You ready for this? I want you to listen up because I'm only going to give you playoff appearances and total wins and losses. And I want you to judge it, and then I'll tell you which school is which. Okay, so Alex Kirshner, full disclosure, he has Carroll College as the team of the decade for the state of Montana. Okay, you can't really disagree with that. But here's the numbers I'm going to throw out in no particular order. Which school has the most wins over the past decade, from 2010 to 2019? We had this discussion, when does a decade start, the other day, but from 2010 to 2019. Okay, one school had 78 wins and 6 playoff appearances. Okay, that's second most wins of the decade and 6 playoff appearances. Another school had 74 wins and 4 playoff appearances. And then the final school, 79 wins with 4 playoff appearances. So right off that, 79 wins, 78, and 74. And then 6 playoff appearances and 4 playoff appearances as well. So based off just that alone, who would you pick as your college football team of the past decade in the state of Montana? Do you go with the 79 wins or the 6 playoff appearances? Okay, so think about that. Now, according to Hero Sports and our good friend Sam Herder over there, the Grizzlies are the football team of the decade. Okay, so you got your pick, right? You got 79 wins, 78 wins, 74 wins, and then 6 playoff appearances with 78 wins, and then 4 playoff appearances for the other 2. Okay, one of these schools has a national championship. Carroll College, 2010. Okay, so we know that. They also played for another and lost in 2011. They have not been to the playoffs, however, since 2014 when they lost in the second round, quarterfinals. And they have a semifinal appearance. Another school, Montana State, has a semifinal appearance and a couple of, first and second round appearances. Same for the Grizz. Now, here I'm going to throw these numbers out as well. One school that has 74 wins actually had 79 and 5 playoff appearances. But, the University of Montana. So we're taking the University of Montana out because they had the 2011, they had 5 wins vacated and a playoff spot. So they were 79 and 44, tied for the most wins in the decade, but you have to take out those 5 wins and you have to take out 1 playoff loss. All right, so now it's down to the team with 78 wins and 6 playoff appearances and 79 wins and 4 playoff appearances. So based off those, are you choosing the 79 wins or the 6 playoff appearances? What if I told you, I feel like the ESPN, what if I told you the team with 79 wins also has the national championship? That's Carroll College. By 1 victory, 79-78, Carroll College over Montana State. Based off victories, Montana State has more playoff appearances with 6. Carroll has the national championship. So between those two, who do you take? You can tweet us at JWalkerSports, at Jason Walker Show. You can Facebook us as well on the Jason Walker Show Facebook page. YouTube, Podbean, we're all over the place. TreasureStateRadio.com, you can listen. But those are the places to get a hold of us. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Podbean. Okay? Let us know who you choose. Do you take Carroll College and 79 wins, 4 playoff appearances, and a national championship? Or do you take Montana State with 78 wins, no titles, but 6 playoff appearances? Who is your favorite team, or who do you think is the best team of the decade based off those numbers? Get your votes in. Let's add them up. We'll tell you at the end of the show. All right. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to check in with University of Providence head men's basketball coach and good friend of the show, Steve Keller. That is all coming up next. Here, you're listening and watching The Jason Walker Show. Have you thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin? Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender. Yes, it's true that Montana is a long way from the Gulf Coast, but you can bring that Cajun flavor home with a stop at Cafe Zydeco. From po' boys to classic sandwiches, Cafe Zydeco has all the best Cajun in town. Are you in the mood for seafood gumbo or crawfish etouffee? Maybe you're craving jambalaya with some shrimp and grits. Head in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or call ahead for pickup or delivery. Cafe Zydeco will fix all your southern cravings, even on a chilly Montana day. Cafe Zydeco is a proud sponsor of The Jason Walker Show. Right. Welcome back, Jason Walker Show. I don't know where my music bed went, but it's live. It's fine. It's what it is. Jason Walker Show, back in the Major Mortgage Man Cave, presented by Helena Accommodations. The in-town 5-star extended stay residences. Visit HelenaAccommodations.com. All right, still to come, we got On This Day in History. We're going to talk some high school sports as well. But joining us now from the Electric City He is the electric coach on the sideline for the University of Providence men's basketball team. Steve Keller. Coach, how are you?
Good, Jason. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm glad I get to chat with you again, and I wanted to reach out first off and say thank you for reaching out to me after I got let go, and I appreciate the kind words, and that's why you're one of the best.
Well, I don't know that, but I think you do a great job with everything you do, so I'm glad you're back on the air, and things are going great for you.
They are, Coach. Before we get talking about your basketball team, I wanted to ask you our poll question, and it's a guy came out on Twitter and said that he voted for the top 50 teams of college football in each state, and he has Carroll College at number 1. I threw out some numbers. Carroll with 79 wins and a title. Montana State with 6 playoff appearances and 78 wins over the last decade. Who would you take? Best college football team in Montana in the last decade?
Well, that's kind of a tough question. I think it's pretty close. Obviously, Carroll got a national title in that era and their history, so I think they got to be up there. But Montana State is definitely on the rise.
Sure.
I guess I'll take Carroll. That's probably the right thing to say.
Well, let me ask you this. Forget about football. Who's the best college basketball team in the state of Montana over the last decade? Because you've had some really good ones. We know how good Travis DeCure is over in Missoula, and then the Cats weren't there. But based off of Rocky or any of the Frontier schools.
Well, Rocky, obviously, I guess that wasn't in the decade. That was 2009 that Rocky won a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be considered. But, Carroll's basketball has been at that national tournament. Montana Western has been out there a bunch. And Coach DeCure at the University of Montana has done a great job with his program. So probably in the last decade, you probably have to go with the Grizz.
That's not bad at all. That's a good one. Coach Steve Keller joining us here on the Jason Walker Show. All right, let's talk about the Argos. I think you guys are ranked, 7th in the country. Do you put a whole lot of stock into that early season stuff?
Well, we really don't. It really doesn't matter, but it's kind of a nice honor when you're taking a program that, it's been notoriously 5th or 6th in the Frontier Conference, and now we're getting some national respect. So we look at it that way, and we look at it as motivation, to try to stay up there in the poll.
Steve Keller joining us here. You got a big guy coming back in Zach Darko Kelly as he redshirted last year after transferring. We knew how good he was going to be, and I said when you got the Providence job a year and a half ago that you'd be in the national tournament with the Argos in a few years. It's going to happen this year, but when you get Darko Kelly back, how much has he added to what you already had returning with a guy like Brandon Cotton, who played so well for the Argos a year ago?
Well, Darko Kelly was very good when he was at Western, when he was, his sophomore year. And, obviously everybody knows he followed me and I don't know that I advised him to do that. That was a tough decision, but he had to sit out. He didn't get a practice with us, but he worked very hard on his own, and he's a much better basketball player now than he was when I had him at Western. And that's kind of the difference right now for us is, he's averaging 21 a game. He leads us in every statistical category: block shots, rebounds, assists, steals. But we got other guys, like you said, with Brandon Cotton was a very good point guard that averaged 17 a game last year. Jackson Hashley, arguably one of the best posts in the league, I feel. And we got a couple new guys in there. Dawson Fowler, a redshirt freshman, is putting up outstanding. I call him a stat filler. He fills up a stat sheet in every category. And we got a 26-year-old sophomore that finished his Air Force commitment that's starting to play. And so we got 7 or 8 guys that are getting a lot of quality minutes for us.
How is the relationship between Brandon and Zach, just because of the way that Brandon led the team a year ago, and then you get Zach coming in, but obviously they're getting along well when you look at the wins and the stats.
Well, first of all, they hang out together off the court a lot, so I think that's important. They have a good relationship, and Brandon is accepted that role a little bit. It wasn't easy, now he probably doesn't get as many shots as he did before the chaos came. But Brandon wants to win, and they both want to win, so they're both going to do what it takes to help their team be successful.
Providence Argos open backup conference play after starting 2-0 in December. Coach, when you look at the way the Frontier is scheduled, those two early season games in December, how much does it throw you for a loop? Because we know the strength of the Frontier. We know how good the Frontier Conference is night in and night out. And it's a different game plan for the conference teams as opposed to some of these non-conference games. It's got to be stressful, both the coaching staff and the players, to get up for two games, and then you're like, well, now we've got these games the rest of the month.
Yeah, for sure. If you ask all the coaches in our league, we just soon not have any conference games before Christmas. So that's not really the grind of the Frontier, and so. But it is what it is, and you try to get a couple wins if you can to get off to a good start. Obviously, Carroll has done that, and we have done that. But now we're into the thick of the Frontier Conference, and in my opinion, it's one of the top conferences in the country. And Carroll got into the national championship game last year, and LC State was in the Final Four. So that starts up next week. Obviously, we start off with Northern here on a Thursday night, and we travel up to play Carroll, and both those teams are extremely talented and good basketball teams.
Steve Keller, our guest here on the Jason Walker Show, the head coach at Providence. You brought up LC State. This is their final year in the league for the Warriors before they head off to the Cascade. It's not going to make a difference, D1, D2, any of that. They're going to dominate the Cascade, I feel, on both sexes. But LC State, what does losing them to the Frontier mean to the rest of the conference?
Well, it hurts us a little bit as far as, how tough the league is. That's going to hurt us a little bit. Like you say, they're going into the Cascade, and they've already beat the top program in the Cascade by 20 at College Idaho this year. So that tells you a little bit, how good they are. But it drops us down to 6 teams, and that's not very good. We still got to play each other 3 times, but we got to find some more non-conference games. And worst part of our job is scheduling. Everybody thinks the athletic directors do our scheduling, but the coaches in our league do their own schedule.
Mm-hmm. Steve Keller, our guest here, Jason Walker Show. Obviously, Providence, Carroll, LC. Any surprises in the Frontier that you've seen when you look at, you're the Raider for the conference, so when you look at just records and opponents, anything that surprises you and has stood out through the first couple of months of the season here?
Well, those teams are up there. I think the team that's really good and that's really well coached and very dangerous is Montana Tech. They could very well be 2-0 instead of 0-2 at this point, and they did beat the Grizz. So, if they can go in Missoula and do that, they're talented. But Montana Western's better. They got some athletes on their team, and Rocky knocked off Northern at Northern. So it's just one of those, like our league is every year. You need to show up and be ready to go, or number 7 could beat number 1.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and Tech, that you mentioned, they got that win and then over the Grizz, but 0-2 in conference. There's a long way to play in conference basketball. What do you tell the guys as you start next week? Throw away the 2-0 record you already have, because it starts for real on Thursday night.
Well, we throw that away. We don't necessarily throw the conference record away, but we throw all the non-conference stuff away. And we've had a pretty good non-conference schedule. So, we just talk as you get ready for the next game, and most of them that have played in our league know what it's like. They don't know when they first come in to the league what it's really like and what it's like to win on the road. So talk about that and just showing up every night and trying to bring your best effort to try to get a win.
Do you go to LC twice this year, or do you have them twice at home?
Yeah, we got to go there twice this year.
Oh, jeez. I know that's one of the favorite road trips for all the coaches, right?
Yeah, and that's going to be the only thing we're not going to miss about LC is having to drive all the way out there all the time. But
that is true.
Yeah,
it's a tough trip, no doubt about it. What is, over the years, you've been successful in the Frontier for a long time. What's your worst place to travel to? Worst gym to coach in?
Well, it used to be when Westminster and LC were in the league together. You'd have to go. You had to try to win the first night because it was like from Westminster to LC on the back roads. It was like 13 hours.
Oh.
So, toughest place to play in my opinion is Northern. You get up there and they're usually packed every single night, and I always feel like it's a pretty good feeling if you can walk out of there with a victory. And they don't lose very many times there, and it's kind of dark in there. I swear to God, the basket in the second half is at a different height than it was in the first half, or what the other end is. But just because their fans are so good and they're competitive and well coached, and obviously Carroll's a great place to play. They got a full house most every night. So I'd say Northern's probably the toughest place. They're the hardest one to go to.
Over the years, what's been your favorite place to travel to, though?
Well, being as I was from Helen, it was fun to come into Carroll, and play there because I have a lot of friends that would come to the game and things like that. So, I don't really have a favorite. I just like to try to get a win in everybody's home court.
There you go. I like that. Steve Keller, our guest here, Jason Walker Show. Lots of excitement surrounding the University of Providence with your arrival, Tony Arnson up there as well. And just in general with the school, the wrestling teams, both of them, and obviously basketball, the Argo women are off to a tough start, but Coach Himmelberg is a very good coach up there. Explain to fans across the state what the University of Providence is invested in and I guess, the excitement level surrounding the Argos and the whole school.
Well, it's long history, it was University of Great Falls and and now the change, and they had one of the top programs in the early 80s, and then they dropped the program, so that upset a lot of people. So, it's a little bit hard getting it going. We have 21 sports, 70-some% of our students are athletes at this time. We need to get more of the regular student in there, but we're starting to get things changed a little bit. We got good administration with Dave Gant, Doug Hasley as our athletic directors, and on the right path, to get a little bit well-known, a little more known out there.
Well, a trip to the national tournament this year for both teams will obviously help out as that's going to happen. The strength of the Frontier, we know about it. Take us through a daily prep for you as a head coach in the Frontier. And we know about the grind and the videotape and obviously great assistance. But like I said, you're watching videos, you're preparing, game planning, and then you got to turn around the next day and do it all over again for another fantastic basketball team.
Well, and I was in the classroom for 26 years, and happened to teach every day and coach, at the high school level. And so sometimes I can tell you best this way. I come home, my wife said, "What'd you do today?" And I said, "I don't know what I did, but I did it all day." And you're exactly right. It's nonstop. It's watching film. I have a great assistant, J.C. Isaacson, who does a lot of the stuff that I really don't like to do, and he does a great job in the paperwork stuff and getting motel rooms and all that other stuff. And so, I just think if you're going to be successful at something, you got to work hard at it. And I'm old, so the old people, we get up early and get in there early, and just love what I do. I don't feel like it's a job. I don't feel like I'm going to work. I just love what I do.
Health's good too?
Well, that's what they say. I'm still walking, so.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I haven't had any issues. I feel pretally good. I've been pretty fortunate, actually, to survive those 2 heart attacks, but I think that's caused some stress. I don't know if I've changed that any, but I am who I am, and that's what you get.
Steve Keller, our guest here, Jason Walker Show. A few final questions for you, but don't get to ask this a lot because it's usually the nuts and bolts of the season and games, game in and game out. But you, like I said, you've been in the Frontier a long time. You coach high school for a long time as well. Is there a favorite game that stands out to you over the college career?
Oh, that's so hard to answer. I mean, I think what's really rewarding when, you're not expected to do anything and then your team, ends up being in the top 1 or 2 and getting to that national tournament. That's what we kind of judge ourselves on here in our league. And obviously we'd like to win a Frontier Conference championship, but if you get in the top 3, after this year, we go to one division, it's going to be kind of tough. But there's been so many that I don't know if you'd have to ask me that question in the morning, and then I could think about it, because I've coached girls basketball, boys basketball. My first state title was pretty exciting. That was in Opine, Montana back in 1982. But I don't know, just tough question. A lot of just great experiences, and been doing it a long time.
Yes, you have, and very well, I might add. But like I said, you got a chance to go to the national tournament this year. You brought up the way that it's going to change in NAI going to one division, and it'll be harder to get to Kansas City. Do you like the change?
No, and I think pretty much our coaches voted unanimously across the nation that they didn't want to do it, and then we're going to a 16-team tournament instead of a 32, and they're calling it a 64 team because there's going to be 16 pods, 4 teams at a site, and you got to win the 2 games. So there's no guarantee that, as good as our league is, that we'll get in the 64, but there's no guarantee. You have to win 2 games somewhere, to make the national tournament.
Yeah, it's crazy. You like I said, won state championships in high school level. You've been to Kansas City, and I've been there as well. That environment, when you walk in the first time to that gymnasium down there, it's an eye opener. It is so much fun, and it's such a great tournament. I wish it could have stayed the same. You've had some great experiences down there. What's it mean to you to go there?
Well, I tell every person that just loves basketball, it's absolutely the best atmosphere to go watch, 8 games a day for 3 days. And I tell everybody there's teams out there that have players good enough that they could win the Big Sky, and with the same league the Grizz and Bobcats are in, and talented players, and game after game, you get 10 minutes to warm up, and it's just, you get a win out there, and it's just a great feeling. And it's just quite an experience. And I'd advise anybody that has never done it, and they better do it now, because it's not going to be the same when they knock it down to 16.
Well, since I won't be going with the way I have been the last few years, I think maybe I should hop on with the University of Providence and get a trip to Kansas City this March.
Yeah, you can come down, you can announce our games and do whatever. Hopefully we make it. We're not there yet. We know it's a long ways to go. We've had a great preseason. But like you said, that's out the door, and conference starts, and you got to win those games. You got to win your games at home and steal some games at the road and on the road. So
it's
going to be a tough road.
It definitely is. And if there's anyone that can handle it, it's you and the Argos, because you got things turned around up there. It's great to see, and we appreciate you joining us, Coach. We'll talk down the road, and thanks for joining us here on the Jason Walker Show, and good luck next week. And like I said, we'll chat in the future.
All right, Jason, thanks a lot.
Yep, Happy New Year. That is Steve Keller, the head coach of the University of Providence, joining us here. Jason Walker Show. Love chatting with him. He is a great coach, and, he has been doing it a very long time. And he's got his Argos, at 14-0 overall, and sitting at 2-0 in the Frontier. But Northern Thursday, Carroll College at the PE Center in Helena on next Saturday night, a week from tomorrow. And Carroll will play Northern on Tuesday next week at Northern. And then they will head off to host the Argos. But, man, you look at the Frontier men, Argos and Carroll 2-0. Combined 25-3, and Carroll won like 111-33 last night over some Canadian Concordia team. Not good. And then you've got LC State, Northern, and Rocky all at 1-1. Western and Tech at 0-2. And like Coach Keller said, Tech could easily be 2-0. They lost a tough overtime game at Carroll in December, and also lost to LC State. But you look at the top 4 teams, Providence, Carroll, LC, and Northern, all with winning records. You have 47-7 combined record between the top 4 teams in the Frontier men. And then the bottom half, Rockies 5-5, Tech's 5-5, and Western 7-6. So it's not like they're bad. This is just a very good league. And they're starting to play tougher opponents in the non-conference schedule as well. So looking forward to that. You look at the Frontier right now. Zacchaeus Darko Kelly, 21 points per game, leads the Frontier 2 3/4 steals per game, and almost 2 blocks per game for the Argos. Clayton Ladine from Rocky leads the Frontier with 6.5 assists per game. That's impressive for a kid that likes to shoot the ball a lot. Jovan Slovanshinin of Carroll leading in rebounding, 10.5 rebounds per game, as the Saints picked up 3 non-conference wins in the last week, and they will be back in action Tuesday. And the women getting back in action, too, on the Frontier side. When you look at who's leading there, well, you've got Northern 2-0 in the Frontier, 13-1 overall. And then Tech, Rocky, LC, Carroll, Western, all 1-1. And Providence 0-2. And the Argos are 9-5 overall. Now, all 7 teams in the Frontier women are receiving votes in the NAI Top 25. Northern, Rocky, LC, Carroll, and Western are all ranked. Providence and Tech receiving votes. How nuts is that? And they have 5 of the top 25 teams. I'm not a mathematician, but that's pretty darn good. So anyway, the Frontier season getting back going next week. Big Sky season continuing. There are 3 3-0 teams in the Big Sky. Both the women, the Lady Grizz and the Bobcat women, are 3-0 after picking up wins last night at home. And the Grizz men are 3-0. They won last night at Southern Utah. The Bobcat men, Danny Sprinkle, lost for the first time in the Big Sky. They're now 2-1. They lost at Northern Colorado last. That's a tough place to play at Northern Colorado. Had a chance to get close, but offensive rebounding and offensive putbacks down the stretch for the Bears doomed the Bobcats. But big games coming up. The Cats are at Southern Utah tomorrow. The Grizz at Northern Colorado. And then the women counterparts are at home for the Big Sky. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, come back. I want to talk about a little bit more about what's going on for the weekend. But I do want to bring up the poll again today. So you have a chance to vote on the Twitter and on the Facebook. Facebook.com/The Jason Walker Show, or Twitter. You can tweet at Jason Walker Show or at JWalker Sports. You can also get us on Podbean and YouTube with your comments. Alex Kirshner from Banner Society came out with a map of the best 50 teams in each state over the last decade. College football, Eastern Washington, Stanford, Nevada, Utah, Arizona State, type of the teams that we're talking about. North Dakota State, obviously. He's got Carroll College as the best team of the decade in the state of Montana. Now, threw out some numbers. Carroll College, 79 wins, 38 losses since the start of 2010 football season. 4 playoffs, 1 national championship in 2010. Lost the next year in the title game. Also have a semifinal and quarterfinal loss. But Carroll, 1 national championship, 4 playoff appearances, 79-38 overall. Montana State, 78-46 overall, 6 playoff appearances, including this year's semifinal, 2019 semifinal loss over the past season. University of Montana, 74-44 with 4 playoff appearances. Now, they do have a 79-44 record with 5 playoff appearances, but those 5 wins and 1 playoff appearance from 2011 have to be discarded. NCAA violations, so they have to be discarded. That doesn't count. So if you go to the website, it says 11-3. In reality, they're 6-3. In 2011, Montana was. So 74 wins, 44 losses, 4 playoff appearances. And Alex Kirshner from Banner Society has Carroll as number 1. I cut out the Grizz because they have less losses and less playoff experience in the last decade. So it's between Carroll and Montana State. What say you? Tweet us at Jason Walker Show, at JWalker Sports, Facebook.com/The Jason Walker Show, YouTube, and Podbean as well. Let us know your pick for the college football team of the last decade in the state of Montana. All right, take a quick break. We'll come right back and we'll tell you what's coming up for the weekend, get you set for some great high school sports as well, and the big wrestling tournament going on the way. Started today down in the Gallatin Valley, and a whole lot more still to come. Jason Walker Show. Thank you for listening and for watching.
Have you thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin? Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender. Yes, it's true that Montana is a long way from the Gulf Coast, but you can bring that Cajun flavor home with a stop at Cafe Zydeco. From po' boys to classic sandwiches, Cafe Zydeco has all the best Cajun in town. Are you in the mood for seafood gumbo or crawfish etouffee? Maybe you're craving jambalaya with some shrimp and grits. Head in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or call ahead for pickup or delivery. Cafe Zydeco will fix all your southern cravings, even on a chilly Montana day. Cafe Zydeco is a proud sponsor of The Jason Walker Show. Everyone knows about Dinners Done Right and the convenience of the cook and carry cuisines. It's so easy to just stop by and you have something for dinner that night. But there's also one more thing you need to know about. Dinners Done Right Grab and Go Salad Bar. Yes, I said salad bar. Always the freshest ingredients, along with a daily soup and nacho bar too. So the next time you are in a rush or you just want to eat healthy, stop by Dinners Done Right for the soup, salad, and nacho bar. For monthly menus and more info, it's dinnersdoneright.com.
Welcome back to the Jason Walker Show.
Oh, happy Friday. Finally. Although we only did a couple of shows this week, but full slate of shows next week as we get back into the new year. Happy New Year to you as well, as looking to have a great 2020. And yeah, for everybody. We want you to have a great 2020 as well. Anyway, Jason Walker Show inside the Major Mortgage Man Cave is presented by Helen Accommodations, the in-town 5-star extended stay residences. Visit HelenAccommodations.com. All right, so there's a high school schedule. Got back in action last night. The Bozeman boys with a big win over Missoula Big Sky, 67-42. The Bozeman girls beat the Big Sky girls 64-37. Pretty similar. The Havre girls knocked off Great Falls High girls 44-32, while the Havre boys lost at the Bison 69-61 last night. So Class A was in action. You had some great scores as well. Browning and Whitefish, the girls, wasn't close. The boys play today, right now, actually. And then Columbia Falls and Big Fork are getting underway tonight on the boys' side. And some great basketball is going to be played all weekend and moving forward throughout the course of the season as we get into conference play, which is starting for most teams, especially in the AA. Final non-conference games for the Capital City squads. On Saturday, Helena High boys and girls taking on Belgrade. The boys are at home, the girls are on the road. And Capital is playing CMR, is that right? Yeah. Girls there, boys at the Bears Den. Townsend and Jefferson in action as well. And speaking of Townsend and Jefferson, their wrestling squads, both pretty good as well. And everybody in the AA, also with some select teams from the B and the C and the A, down in Bozeman this weekend for the La Prowse Invitational, which is an amazing, absolutely amazing wrestling tournament. You think of great regular season tournaments in the state of Montana for wrestling, the La Prowse, you got the CMR Holiday Classic before the start of the new year in December. You have, obviously, the state all-class wrestling tournament in the Metra, which is fantastic. There's just some great wrestling across the state. And both, Helena, Townsend, Jefferson, you go up to Havre and the run that they've had over the last decade. That's a good question, too. Best high school wrestling team of the past decade. That'd be a good one. Flathead would have to be in there. Havre for sure. Man, that would be very, very good. We should maybe think about that. Obviously, AA girls basketball, you'd have to throw Helena High in there, 3 straight to end the decade. Havre girls, Rocky Boy girls. man, there's some great teams over the past decade. Anyway, so speaking of teams of the past decade, what's your favorite or what's the best college football team of the past decade in the state of Montana? Carroll College, MSU, UM. You pick. Facebook us, tweet us. Got a lot of votes for Montana State, a lot of votes for Carroll as well. It's very close. Nobody's voting for the Grizz. You take out those 5 losses, they have 74 wins. That is 4 less than the Cats and 2 playoff appearances less than the Cats. Same amount of playoff appearances as Carroll. Carroll leading with 79 wins over the past decade. And, you take out those 3, 4, and 6 and then a 5 and 6 season. And if Carroll had been just Carroll, they'd be close to 100 wins for a decade. How crazy is that? I mean, that's Alabama-type stuff, North Dakota State-type stuff. But Carroll, with the 1 national championship and 79 wins, or the Cats, 78 wins over the past decade and 6 playoff appearances. That is the poll. Podbean, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Let us know what you think is, and what say you is basically what we're looking for. All right, so other high school stuff going on this weekend. You got swimming. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Can you believe that we are just about a month and a half away from state wrestling and state swim for winter sports? And wrestling, we mentioned in Bozeman this weekend. The swimmers get back in action next week, or next Friday. They'll be at Great Falls. And, of course, the capital city squads have to do everything on the road except for Crosstown because they don't have a pool anymore except at the Y. But anyway, get out and support your local high schoolers this weekend and all season long. It's high school sports in the state of Montana. There's nothing better. And it doesn't matter the sport at all. If you're a swimming fan, go watch it. I went and covered a state wrestling tournament or state wow, what sport am I talking about? 3, 2, 1. I covered a state swim meet in Great Falls one year. And it was at Great Falls High. It was humid and just it was bad. The accommodations, but the actual events, amazing, unbelievable. So it was so much fun to watch and cover, and had a great time. So anyway, get out and support your local high schoolers. All right. So speaking of high school, a big event last night in the Magic City, and Central Class A Rams trailed the Bronx of Senior, AA, 47-36 with about 4 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Okay? Central's down 11 with 4 minutes to play. They forced turnovers on 4 straight possessions, cut the lead to 4, off another turnover, a 3-ball with a minute and a half, cut it to 1. Senior then led 50-46 with just under a minute to play. And then, Nate Sasich from Central hit a 3-pointer, covered, tough shot, 20 seconds to go, hit a 3 to pull Central within 1. And then they did not foul. Central did not foul. Came up with another turnover. And then Central moves the ball full court, layup at the buzzer, and they win 51-50. The Rams do. Great finish. Scott Breen had the highlights on montanasports.com. Great finish. And what's even better about it is for Central and head coach Jim Sturgar, it is career win number 300. That's awesome. So congratulations to Coach Sturgar for picking up career victory 300 for Central Rams last night in the Magic City. That's a great accomplishment. As is this. Mark Yoakum, a longtime coach at Glasgow and Corvallis, has been selected as Montana's 2020 inductee to the National High School Athletic Coaches Association Hall of Fame. He will be inducted July 22nd in Lincoln, Nebraska, and the honor was announced Monday in a press release from Montana Coaches Association. Yoakum, who's from Corvallis, started his coaching career of 45 years at Glasgow, where he coached for 26 years. The Scotties girls cross-country team won 8 straight state titles, with Yoakum as the head coach for the final 5. During that coaching tenure, Glasgow won 8 state championships, 6 in girls cross country and 1 each in boys and girls track. That's awesome. And then at Glasgow, he went to Sydney, Nebraska, and then moved back to Montana and became an assistant at Corvallis, where the Blue Devil boys and girls cross country and track and field teams have won 36 state trophies, including 20 state titles, while he's been coaching at Corvallis. Overall, 45 years, 60 state trophies, 28 state championships as either a head or assistant coach. He's a 3-time MCA Coach of the Year and was an assistant coach of the year by the National High School Association, Coaches Association, back in 2016. But he's going into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Coach Yoakum of Corvallis and Glasgow. That is awesome and very well deserved, no doubt about it. See, we don't talk just the big sports here, football and basketball. We talk cross country and swimming too. What other show in the state of Montana can say that? There's not another show in the state of Montana that can say that they talk nothing but local sports. That's what we do here on the Jason Walker Show. So if you want to hop on board, get a hold of me at Jason Walker or JasonWalkerSports@gmail.com. All right. I'll give you a couple more minutes to get final votes in. Carroll, MSU, who was the best team of the decade in the state of Montana for football? Coach Steve Keller picked Carroll for football. He did pick the Grizz for basketball with what they've done over the last decade, and it's hard to argue against that. He's going to be in the national tournament. We appreciate Coach Keller joining us, but he's going to have the Argos Providence in the national tournament this year in March at Kansas City. And he mentioned it too, the final year of the 32-team tournament. It's the longest and the best national championship tournament in America. There is nothing better. The NCAA doesn't even compare. Yeah, you got to win 6 games. You do it over a span of 3 weeks. At Kansas City in the NAI, to win a national championship, you have to win all those games in a span of 5 days or span of 6 days or 7 days, depending on if you get the Wednesday or Thursday schedule. So if you got Thursday, like Carroll did last year to make the national championship, they went Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. You got to win 5 games in a span of either 6 or 7 days. The team that beat Carroll last year, Georgetown, Kentucky, they started Wednesday, so they got the luck of having Thursday off, then played Friday, Saturday, had Sunday off where everybody did, Monday, Tuesday. That extra day is a benefit, no doubt. But it's the best tournament. There is nothing better than watching the National NAI basketball tournament at Kansas City. Anyway, all right, so what else did we want to chat about before the end of the show? We talked about the Frontier. We talked about the Big Sky. Oh, Providence Women's Wrestling got a big honor as well. Where's that at? The University of Providence listed as number 21 on a list of top women's wrestling schools in the nation, put out by, was it Next College Student Athlete? The NSCSA analyzed 4-year colleges that have women's wrestling programs across all 4 levels, D1, D2, D3 of NCAA and NAI. And out of just the NAI teams, Providence women ranked 9th. So that's very cool for Coach Carlene Slabowski and the women that are wrestling up there at Providence. 21 sports, and this is one of them. Argo Wrestling returns to the mats a week from tomorrow. They'll be up at Edmonton, Alberta for the Golden Bear Invitational. But that's a huge, cool thing for the University of Providence Women's Wrestling. All right, let's do On This Day in History as we get set to close out the show here in a few minutes. I've got to get better at music. We need music for this. All right, so on this date, 1931, January the 3rd, 1931, as we hit the Wayback Machine, Montreal Maroons center Nels Stewart would score the fastest 2 goals in NHL history. He had a pair of goals 4 seconds apart in a 5-3 win over the Boston Bruins at Montreal Arena. Speaking of scoring quick, I scored with 12.9 seconds left on NHL hockey on the PlayStation the other day to beat my brother. I sent it to overtime where I won in a shootout, but I scored with 12.9 seconds left to beat my brother, to tie it up and then beat him in the shootout. And neither one of us knew what we were doing, but it was a lot of fun. All right, 1973, 12-man syndicate led by Michael Burke and George Steinbrenner III would buy MLB's New York Yankees from CBS for $10 million, and now they're well over $1 billion. 1983, Tony Dorsett of the Cowboys set the NFL record with a 99-yard rushing touchdown in a win over Minnesota. 1993, the comeback, as Frank Reich led the Buffalo Bills from a 32-point deficit to beat the Houston Oilers 41-38 in overtime. The greatest comeback ever in pro football history. That happened on this date in 1993. Happy birthdays today. Mel Gibson, 64. Danica McKellar. Winnie Cooper is 45 today. She is, 8 months older than me. Happy birthday, Danica. 1923. By the way, she's written some great kids books. If you got kids, she just go to Amazon and get Danica McKellar's kid books. They are fantastic. 1923. Happy birthday to Hank Stram. Was born on this date. Coached the Chiefs to the Super Bowl in 1970. Born in Chicago on this date, 1923. Passed away in 2005. It would have been 2000-ish, 99. 1998, 98, 99, I think, right around there. Maybe it was 99. Anyways, the Jan Stenerud Celebrity Golf Tournament used to be in Bozeman every year at Riverside Country Club. And I got to caddy, and I've met some great people. But this year, in 1999, I was caddying for George Brett of the old Kansas City Royals. Great dude. Amazing golfer. I don't know how many times I can say amazing today, but I'm going to say it again. But George Brett could crush the golf ball. You think about his hand-eye coordination from baseball? Yeah, George Brett was pretty darn good. I have a lob wedge, specifically bought a 60-degree lob wedge because George Brett had one. Did I hit it like him? Nope, not at all, but had fun. Anyway, he gave me a ton of money, paid for all my drinks, all my stuff, all my food for the whole weekend. I told him what I was doing, which was high school play-by-play for the Bozeman Hawks at the time, and in radio. And he goes, "You want to do play-by-play?" I said, "Yeah, it's a dream." And he goes, "Come here a second." So he takes me over and introduces me to Hank Stram. Hank Stram was working at CBS Sports back at the time. And it was awesome. And we talked. And George Brett introduces me to Hank Stram. He leaves. Mr. Stram and I sit down and just chat for a few minutes. He gives me his card and said, "Call CBS in New York and tell him I sent you." Like, yeah, okay. I'm, 24 years old, 25 maybe. Anyway, I did not call CBS in New York, and maybe that's why I'm still broadcasting from my home office in the Major Mortgage Man Cave, which I appreciate doing. But I never gave CBS a call and said, "Hey, Hank sent me." But Hank Stram's birthday today, 1923. So there you go. All right, let's wrap up our poll results real quick. It was, what is your team? What's the best team of the decade in the state of Montana? And we narrowed it down to between Carroll and Montana State. And Carroll College National Championship in 2010 is going to win out. They're going to get that win. So just barely, though. It was a very tight vote, but our votes came in for Carroll College. National Championship trumps more playoff experience or playoff appearances over the last decade. And they lost in another championship. So there you go. All right. Couple of things to wrap up here. Let's get to this. Got to turn the music back up, and then we play this. Yeah.
We're almost at the end of the show. What did we learn? And what did he miss? Time for the walk-off.
All right. Steve Keller joined us, the head coach of the University of Providence. Great fun, great time chatting with him. And the conference season for the Frontier is started in December, but it starts for real next week. And the Argos will take on Northern at Great Falls, and then they'll play Carroll at the PE Center next Saturday night, but Northern Thursday. The Argos, 14-0, ranked 7th in the country, 2-0 in the Frontier, and on their way to the national tournament. And we appreciate Coach Keller joining us earlier today here in the Major Mortgage Man Cave. All right, some final notes I wanted to get to real quick. And I saw this story yesterday, and I think it's cool. So the National Zoo out in D.C., their small mammal house has a new resident, Athena, the two-toed sloth. She's 1.5 years old, and she's out there with golden lion tamarins and Aracari and Vlad, a 34-year-old male two-toed sloth. And they are hoping that Athena and Vlad, who's 34, she's 1.5, but they're hoping that Athena and Vlad will start to make other two-toed sloths. And the National Zoo is hoping that Athena is impaled by Vlad. That's That's the truth. In the National Zoo, fantastic place to visit. All right, big games tomorrow, big games tonight. Have fun this weekend. We'll see you back here Monday, the Jason Walker Show. We got a lot of rodeo talk next week as well. The PBR gets underway. It's 2020 season tonight out at the Madison Square Garden. And we'll see you back here on Monday at 4. This is the Jason Walker Show.
The Jason Walker Show is produced by the Jason Walker Media Company. Any reuse, rebroadcast, or retransmission without the express written consent of the Jason Walker Show is strictly prohibited. Just listen, watch, and enjoy.